Here's something that caught me off guard. Chinese tourists spent over $250 billion abroad in 2019, more than the entire GDP of Portugal. And now, after years of lockdown, they're back with what's being called Revenge Travel 2.0.
That's fascinating. And you know what's really interesting about this new wave? It's completely different from pre-pandemic patterns. How are these travelers reshaping global tourism?
Well, the transformation is remarkable. Instead of those massive tour groups we used to see following guides with flags, we're now seeing more independent travelers, families exploring on their own, and even solo adventurers seeking authentic experiences.
And I've noticed they're spending differently too. The focus seems to have shifted from quantity to quality.
Exactly. And here's what's really interesting about that shift. These travelers are now strategically planning their purchases by destination. They're heading to Korea, specifically for premium skincare, Japan for electronics, and European fashion capitals for luxury goods.
So what you're saying is that it's become more of a targeted approach to travel and shopping.
Right. And get this, the payment methods have completely transformed too. Remember when Chinese tourists had to carry stacks of cash? Now, from tiny ramen shops in Osaka to boutiques in Paris, they're using WeChat Pay and Alipay for everything.
The technological integration is pretty remarkable, and I've heard the younger generation is taking this digital approach even further.
Oh, you know it. Gen Z travelers are basically reinventing how trips are planned through platforms like Xiaohongshu. It's like if Instagram, Pinterest, and TripAdvisor had a baby with a distinctly Chinese perspective.
Well, that must be creating some interesting challenges for traditional tourism businesses.
Actually, destinations are adapting incredibly quickly. Countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore have completely overhauled their visa processes. Many now offer visa-free entry for Chinese citizens. Even small businesses are transforming to accommodate these travelers.
The economic implications must be significant for these countries.
Absolutely massive. Take Thailand, for example. Chinese tourism accounted for about 28% of their total tourism revenue before the pandemic. Now they're projecting even higher numbers as these travelers return with deeper pockets and more sophisticated tastes.
And what about the cultural aspects of this new wave of tourism?
So here's what's fascinating about that. These travelers are seeking out much more immersive experiences. They're planning entire trips around specific restaurants, joining traditional craft workshops, and participating in local festivals. It's no longer about just taking photos at famous landmarks.
The whole dynamic of cultural exchange must be evolving too.
You know, that's one of the most interesting aspects. While there are still occasional misunderstandings, like volume levels in quiet Japanese restaurants or different queuing customs, many travelers are now actively preparing for these cultural differences before their trips.
Well, that sounds like a positive development for international understanding.
Definitely. And it's having ripple effects across the entire tourism industry. Hotels are adding Chinese breakfast options, museums are providing Mandarin audio guides, and even small businesses are adapting their services to better serve these travelers.
Looking ahead, what trends do you think we'll see emerging?
The future developments are really intriguing. We're likely to see even more diversification in travel styles and destinations. There's also a growing emphasis on sustainable and responsible tourism among Chinese travelers, which could have significant environmental implications.
That's quite different from the stereotypical image of Chinese tourism from just a few years ago.
And that's exactly what makes this moment so significant. We're watching millions of people rediscover the world with fresh eyes and new perspectives. It's not just about tourism anymore. It's about cultural exchange, understanding, and personal growth.
So in many ways, this really is Travel 2.0.
Like you wouldn't believe. And here's what I think is most exciting. This transformation is happening at every level, from individual travelers to entire countries, adapting their infrastructure. It's a perfect example of how interconnected our world has become, and how travel can be a force for positive change.